where men play with sticks. Be them 4, be them 5, be them 6, or sometimes just 1. I'm Alex, and this is Rip Roaring Garage. And today, we're going to be talking about something. I mentioned it in a video past about police in red states with the civil asset forfeiture, but it seems like police in blue states can't be outdone. So this is from a fairly large mega channel, almost 500,000, attorney Steve Lehto out of Michigan.
Time to time I get notes from people who say, Steve, I've had an interesting thing happen to me. You might want to do a video about it. And I got a good one here from Ray, who writes to me, Dear Mr. Lehto, and I respect the old school salutation. I thought you may find this slightly humorous. I say humorous as I do not find it funny in the least, but all I can do is shake my head and laugh. So he's had something happen to him that would outrage most people, but he's...
So this is basically the actual guy this happened to, and he's reaching out to Steve Lehto, mostly, I guess, as a last resort, desperation. If you're not laughing, you're crying kind of thing, because he gets bent over by Detroit. I think it's Detroit.
He's decided, you know something? I'll deal with it. My 1965 Chevy, which was legally parked on the street, licensed and fully insured, was impounded by the LAPD on June 1st.
All right, LA. Detroit's coming. Don't worry. I'm not, I got something about Detroit. LA.
Applicable vehicle code cited as 22669 sub D, and I'll get there in a second. I paid the $372.50 impound fee, removed the car from the impound, and I protested the impound. So, had a hearing yesterday at an administrative hearing with the officer who impounded the car and her supervisor. Now,
do I need to say it?
Impound report contains numerous errors. Says the car was missing its transmission and differential, missing an alternator, and the interior was stripped. None of this was correct. Now, it stated that the car was missing the driver's side mirror, which is correct.
Oh, got him! You'll see in a bit. So I'm going to make this a little short. Go check out Steve Lehto's channel. It's one of the things I kind of follow because they're interesting legal stories and cases and things that get overturned. And he's one of the proponents against civil asset forfeiture. I don't get what it is with Chevy guys. Like, there is a model. When I was a kid, I thought the 57 Chevy was just the 57 Chevy. Now, granted, there's the trim, Bel Air, Biscaynes and all that. But come on, give us some information here. Watch, this is going to be the Hellcat thing. It's going to be a Dodge Challenger. Like, what kind, man? It could be a Scat Pack. It could be a freaking Demon. And anything in between. We need to know. So, get on this, people. So, he parks on the street. Car's his daily driver, which this guy, kudos to him for dailying a 65. He had some issues with vandalism, and he had a magnetic mirror. I'm not a fan of those because they do scratch, and they can maybe fall off or shift. I don't know. I'd like to know what make and whatever that mirror is. Might be a cool idea for cars that don't have them and you don't want to modify them. So he removes the mirror, stores it in the car, locks his car, yada, yada, yada. And here comes Officer Doolittle, and she's all, I'm going to get me my quota or whatever. Now, as I mentioned before, I used to be in law enforcement. I was a police officer, as well as other roles throughout my career. Before and after, it's weird. It helps if you don't think about it too much. I try not to. She sees the car doesn't have a mirror and starts, most likely, checking off things on her little list, violations. No engine, no transmission. Funny how alternator, it's its own separate thing. No differential. Again, funny how that's like, how would you even know? I can have a car with no differential. Like, what are you talking about? Just the pumpkin, the outer casing? Like, how would you even know that? Anyways, no interior shows that she really was, living the IDGAF dream. Like, she did not care. She didn't look, nothing. The guy has to pay an impound fee. And luckily, I'm assuming this car is not in tip-top shape, so there probably wouldn't have been damage to it. But imagine you have a car. It's flawless. Not even scratches from J-hooks, which for some reason I have some right there. Long story. Mother. Боже мой. Don't rip my wires, please. Thank you. Yes, this thing is like 50 pounds. Those things can damage. J-hooks can damage a car's undercarriage, control arms, yada, yada, yada. And if you have a pristine, perfect car, stop messaging while I'm recording, people. It will lower the value. And there's nothing you can do about it. Once you repair something, that's it. That's towing and impounding for you. And we're going to get why I mention this, because the Detroit story features such a situation. Needless to say, with the guy in LA, he gets his car back, pays like a couple $100, and it's messed up. It's highway or city robbery. Now, this is another interesting channel I watch.
I was going to meet with him, and like 5 police cars boxed us in, and they're screaming at us, "Get out of the car, get out of the car, give me your keys." And I'm like, why am I doing?
Now that's something, again, we're going to see in the next video, the "give me the keys" thing, that starting to feel the freaking vein in my head pop.
That. And they're like, "The other officer will tell you when he gets here." So we go through the whole thing. I get out of the car. Everybody gets out of my vehicles. We did surrender the keys as they asked us to. The lead officer shows up and refused to tell me why they were taking my car.
Yeah, why tell the person?
Because I'm on YouTube.
Nah.
He said, "If you turn the camera off, I'll tell you why." And I said, "If this isn't sketchy, you can tell me why on camera."
It's a good response, but it won't matter. So now they do a couple of, this is, what is it, daily driven exotic channel. I'm not that much into the exotic stuff, but I do like the format of telling stories. Sometimes it's interesting. Sometimes it actually inspires me to check on things. I'm like, hey, am I doing this the right way? Am I doing this the wrong way? Particularly with insurance and when you have a buttload of cars.
So immediately, I was literally going to meet with my attorney. So I called him. I'm like, "Can you meet me here? Because obviously I'm not going to make it."
Now, most of us don't have, attorneys we meet with, have lunch and fancy, that's got to be a Lamborghini or Ferrari lifestyle thing. Us Dodge guys, we keep it simple. But bottom line is that Detroit confiscates this guy's 2 Lamborghinis, because 1 was not enough. And here we go with...
Well, the chief of Detroit police is parading my cars around the city doing press conferences. At which point he says that they are permanently forfeiting these cars. They're going to add them to their fleet and use them.
Bear in mind, no trial, no conviction, no nothing. We're just going to take your stuff and we're going to use it for whatever stuff they want to use. The reality is some lieutenant or captain in Detroit PD was like, "I'm going to take this home. I'm going to drive it. I'm going to do whatever," because the guy gets his cars back. And let's just play a little.
Entice people into drag racing so they can then seize those cars.
Which is entrapment. That's the textbook definition of entrapment.
And they're going to use them for undercover vehicles because, Lamborghinis don't stand out at all. So then
Hey, buddy, you're expecting too much. They're Detroit PD, not exactly the brightest of the bunch. Within law enforcement community or any community, you can go to a mental asylum and you can find a better average IQ than a freaking Detroit cop. There, I said it. Any one of you is a Detroit cop. Well, if you're here, that means you are miles. Ooh.
I'm kind of freaking out. And I call Rami and I'm like, "Rami, dude, what's going on?" He goes, "Don't worry about it. They can't keep your cars. That's not legal." I then get contacted by ABC News in Detroit, who wants to get my side of the story. The Detroit police would not give them my number. They would not give them my information.
Why would they? Now, I know a lot of you are already looking and dreading the image you're seeing on screen. And as somebody that has a super stock that is very low because of the tires and all that, this is also kind of creating those
turns out they tracked me down through alternative sources. And then we did a piece, and I said, first of all, the chief is lying. There were other cars. Yeah. I should put that as a caveat. There were other vehicles, but he's standing in front of my 2 Lamborghinis, and he says all parties have been arrested and they're currently facing criminal prosecution. Not only have I...
Look at that. Look at this. This is, like, they don't care. Because even if you get your car back and all that, try suing them for the damages to your car. They're going to say, no, because on our books, it shows that bumper average cost is going to be $200. Here's your $200. Trial judge adjudicated. Yeah. So that's going to be messed up.
I've not been arrested. I've never even been ticketed.
Yeah.
At no point did they arrest me. I have still not received any sort of arrest warrant, any document.
And on VinWiki, you'll see, you'll hear stories about guys that were ticketed doing, cannonball runs and all that. And let me know if you're interested in hearing those kind of stories, because maybe I have some, and maybe 1 or 2 of them involve a bus, a cannonball bus run. Anyways, I plead the fifth.
Documentation saying I'm in trouble, other than the fact that they just wanted my cars. We speak to the news, and they said, they played the whole story, and then they updated their piece a little bit later, stating that the Detroit Police Department did in fact admit that Mr. Teen has not been arrested and is not currently facing criminal prosecution. And that takes about a half hour to 40 minutes.
We're not going to play all of them because we'll be here all day. And you guys, like I said, I know you guys are busy. Want to keep this down to the point. Guys, he goes to the impound lot and he's got to wait there. And no, you can't just drive the car off the lot. No. You have to pay a tow truck, police certified. All these little scams and rackets. It's like the mafia does this. I heard you got a car. It's like, well, you're gonna have to tow it, but you can't just use Larry. No, you gotta use Frankie Boy here because he pays his mafia dues. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is police in especially East Coast, NYPD, Detroit, name a big city, Newark. They all do this kind of nickel and diming you contracts and city contracts. This guy's a cousin and so on.
And both of the cars have been damaged. One of the cars appears to have been backed into something. The Huracan has some damage to the back end where maybe they backed into a pole or another car, or I don't know. Both of them had...
And before anybody starts reading in the comments, I know some people are like, oh, that's nothing. Like, you should see what's on the tailgate of on the back of my Altima or Camry. Right? Yeah, this ain't an Altima, this ain't a Camry. Every car guy will go nuts over a scratch like that. Because we know what it means. That means repainting the whole thing. Now the car has diminished value. Even if you don't have the Carfax, it still will show as repainted. Okay? Now, if you got a dent, even worse. Every time you go with the paint gauge, it'll show. It goes from 4 mil, 3 mil, whatever Lamborghini is, to 12, because there's Bondo there.
Damage from towing, being pulled up onto or off of the flatbeds. They actually had me drive them onto the trucks when they seized them. So I know they were good at that point, but we don't know how many press conferences they did or to what places they moved them all around the city. We only know of at least one, but regardless, they had to move it from the impound yard to police headquarters for the one press conference. Obviously, we weren't privy.
Look at that right there. That's not just a scratch. That's a full-on dent.
To how they did that, how they moved them, what companies they used, and whether or not they know how to tow a Lamborghini. But both vehicles had thousands of dollars worth of damage to them, which still hasn't been accounted for. They allege that I street raced within the city of Detroit. What they got that from is a YouTube video that I put out of the Huracan racing.
Anyways. So you could say, yeah, these guys do race and whatever, but that's not the point. I don't care if they're racing and making YouTube videos or whatnot. As somebody that's made videos in the past doing seemingly dumb stuff, where I have had streets shut down. Like, hey, I need this street. You go to a lot of townships, they're fine. Just got to fill out a simple form, and they'll send out 2 police cars. They'll block the road between X amount of time. They get with you, and once you're done, you go up and tell one of them, like, hey, Filming's done, yada, yada, yada. Same with parking lots and all that. There's a place I like to go to. We used to do our training there when I was driving a bus way, way, way long ago. And you just tell them, hey, I'm going to do some stuff. Or sometimes it doesn't even need to go that high. Just go to the security guard and like, hey, man, I'm going to be here, like, not causing any trouble. All right, man, don't stay too long. That's authorization, right? But they try to portray this image that, oh, they're street racing, they're causing danger and all this. And I will get a little bit to one of the things that we all agree is dumb. The street takeovers, shutting down highways, intersections, yada, yada, yada. Now, one thing I did want to, I was looking here, but the Detroit PD put something like 10,000 miles on the guy's car. Like, how would you feel if they did that? Like, I would go nuts. Like, they're kind of saying like, well, you're a criminal. So why are we acting civil? Why? We might as well just act like a criminal. Seems like they can have more fun. Anyway, so yeah, this our buddy again. I'm not going to play anything of his video just because it gives him a freaking view. I'm petty that way sometimes. Point is that Charlotte just passes a law. It comes down to Charlotte, North Carolina, passing a law where they're basically making it a criminal offense to do a street takeover. Okay, fine. Making it to where they automatically seize the car. I'm not fine. You have to prove it first. And then a judge has to issue this kind of judicial punishment. And even that is kind of iffy because it leads to this, where your property is not your own. The government can take it whenever the hell they want. They can take your underwear if they wanted to. Worse is if you're a spectator and you're at a car show in Charlotte and one does some street takeover type activities near or around the car show, spectators under this law get prosecuted, criminal charges filed, and their cars seized. Spectators. And it does not exclude people that are on the street. Oh, no. You stop. As you're walking tired from home, you're about a block away from what, bus left, you're going to your apartment because you live in the city. And you just do this. That is enough. That gets you prosecuted, arrested, and thrown in jail. And who knows what they're going to try to seize off of you, because this is all about money. The reality is that laws exist. Reckless driving, reckless endangerment, all sorts of laws that can be applied. But they figured, well, we don't want to spend the money and the resources to catch the guys that might flee. Because let's face it, down south and, the Carolinas, Georgia, Arkansas, there's a reputation of people running. And some get away, some don't. Makes for entertainment for us without necessarily condoning it, which most of us don't. But they don't want to spend that kind of money chasing, sending 20 cars and all that, gas, man hours, blah, blah, blah. No, so we're just going to go after the easy targets. We're going to go after the law-abiding citizens that won't run. They're going to sit there, and one cop can just take down names and impound 40 cars. Right. Or worse, just issue fines to random pedestrians. They're going to sit there gawking and looking and whatever. It does seem we have this kind of trend with bumbling fools from a certain January just being, entrapped and all that, down to this kind of stuff. Cars taking your stuff away to make money because the economy is not doing so great. Therefore, we got to get that money. We got to get that penny, that pound of flesh. And I don't know about you, but if I was in Charlotte, this is kind of like a late warning. Get the hell out of cities. I'm trying to get out of New York, although the question remains, where do you go? Where are police not dicks? If let's talk it out in the comments, okay? I honestly want to know because I'm trying to get out of here. At least in New York, they don't do the civil asset forfeiture yet. Down south, it's all about, oh, well, you got a Hellcat. You must be racing. We're taking your car. Not to mention the whole throw your keys out, because I didn't mention this. These keys are part of the car. They're painted, in some cases have emblems and nice, and tossing it damages it, destroys it. Now, if you have a car like a 1320, guess what? You're not buying another cover. You have to scour eBay for that. If you have one of those special edition cars, guess what? Those will have a special. It won't just say Scat Pack. It'll say Shakedown. It'll say Swinger, whatever. So now you're out. They don't care. And they're not going to pay for it either. But no, because why? Our keys are just metal keys that don't get damaged. We don't care. It's like saying, you know, oh, we broke your painting. Who cares if it's a Mona Lisa? Because we're used to freaking hotel and motel room paintings. Therefore, we'll treat all paintings the same. Like, do they not think that this will encourage people to not own a car, not buy cars, not buy anything? Or maybe that's what they want. You'll own nothing and be happy. Anyways, I know this is kind of a little bit of a bummer, but I got some interesting ones coming up. So stick around. Give this video a like. Consider the subscribe star. There we go. Just type in Al Dackman Barry in the search. We have a couple of fun little tiers here. The Penta Star, $3 a month. RT, 5. Scat Pack, 10. And SRT is 20. I don't expect many, or if anybody, to go to these levels. I just thought it was cool and fun creating these kinds of tiers. But here, in case there's any issues, you will get to see videos. You got to be logged in. I guess some of the videos don't show, but all the videos are posted, and I do make them free of charge. So if you do see a video, if you do sign up, you will see all the videos, though there may be some special exclusive stuff coming in the future. And as I'm able to record faster, streamline the process, all that, well, this is where you're going to see it first. I don't know about YouTube, how that's going to work. I want to see a first paycheck because I don't trust them, but we'll see about that too. It might be both places. Those of you that want to stick it to the man, come here. Those of you that like it with the man, most likely will stay with YouTube. I don't know. I'm just messing around. So this is Rip Roaring Garage, where oil is thicker than blood. Hand me a like, and I hope you have a rip roaring day. Damn, it's hot. Ah. Freaking